Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. I will be doing a shorter video today, but as promised, I would always record any 5.0 that I get. And this will be the exact same list that I played in my previous video. I discussed in my previous video that I think this list is insanely powerful, but we did go 1-4, which is the worst league I ever played with this list. Because with this list, I've been playing a lot with this, and I've been having insane results. In fact, I'm going to record a 5.0 league right now, but I went on a 10.0 streak recently with this build, so I just think this is probably the future. In the beginning, I thought that Nado would be the real thing that was going to be good for Infect, but honestly, it's TAMIYO. It's not Nado. It's this. So if you want to see a detailed discussion of this list, check out my previous video on YouTube. I will just go skimming through my thoughts after playing with it a bit more, and basically it sums up what I've been thinking for quite some time now. This is nuts. TAMIYO is in win condition on her own, and it provides Infect, something that we haven't had, which is a spell that actually allows us to draw cards. We have a flyer for 1 blue that also have blocking, and you can sometimes kill your opponents with this, because if you embiggen TAMIYO, that's +4, so you can also do a lot of damage with this. In combination with Sim Library, it's just insanely powerful. I've cut Ponders entirely, never missed them. TAMIYO is just so much better, and I'm never getting rid of Hedge Maze ever again. The card is insane. It does so much. I'm in love with this list. I think it's going to put Infect back on the map. As I said, I was on a 10-0 streak for some time. Yeah, deck's crazy. Sideboard, haven't changed anything. I may change something in the future because I think you have a couple of less slots. We have a lot of standard stuff, swords, trying for the Delver decks, and then we have a lot of variation. So, again, for more information about that, check out my previous build. Let's just dive into some games. This is not live because I wasn't anticipating that I would go 5-0. So this will be a review of the games that I played, which is fine because the videos go faster, and I've seen that people tend to enjoy that as well. All right, but first let me show you, because I can claim that I'm going 10-0, but who says that this is true? So if we start over here, I had a first game where I went 1-0, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wins in a row. So 10-0. It wasn't 2 straight leagues after each other, but we did go 10-0, so that just shows you the power of the deck. All right, let's dive into the league. Before we get started, I want to thank MTGO again for sponsoring the video. If you live in Europe and you buy cards on Magic Card Market, check them out. They are a seller with a huge selection and they give very good prices. Okay, so let's dive in. I was on the die roll, so I would want to play. I'm going to try and pause these occasionally. So this is a good opening hand here. It has a threat, it has a Legolas, and so this is basically a turn to kill. If opponent doesn't have anything, no blockers, we will see what happens, but this hand is perfectly fine, very good. So unfortunately the singleton force is unfortunate, but so be it. I didn't want to do nothing here on the first turn. You really don't want to do just nothing, if that makes any sense, because you know what's going to happen is you doing nothing means that if they don't have removal, you just win. So what I wanted to do is just play the threat and try to win as soon as possible. And here we see Eldrazi and Lotus Petal. So it's clear that we were playing against Eldrazi, and that deck really just doesn't have a lot going on the first couple of turns. So you just want to try and go for it as soon as possible. Yeah, this list plays a lot of pump spells. I'm playing 4 Invigorates, 3 Embiggens, and double Berserk. That's more pump spells than we've ever played, and they all cost 1. In the past, we had 4 Invigorates, maybe 1 Scale Up, and then we had triple Vines. Like, Vines double green to kill the opponents. Embiggen is just so much better, it's ridiculous. I almost forgot to talk about sideboarding. Against Eldrazi, it's pretty easy. You bring in swords, you bring in Force of Vigor for sure, and if you have room, you also bring in Triumph and or Sylvan Library. Generally, counter magic is not what you're looking for. So you can see me having the Triumph, but that's not what you want in an opening hand. So I'm going to just keep this. It's not excellent or anything, and if they have Chalice, I just lose, and guess what they have? They have Chalice. Now, it's not game over, because I do have Inkmoth Nexus and Pendelhaven and Invigorate, so depending on what my opponent does, we could wiggle through here, but they start with Wasteland 2, and I just concede. I mean, I had the nuts turn 1 in game 1, they had the nuts game 2, so it all came down to game 3. I think in general, Eldrazi is a fine matchup, but you just need to dodge them having Chalice, so you always bring in Force of Vigor. But it's a very good opening hand. If they have Chalice, it's not great, but I mean, you can't mulligan this hand. It's too good not to play. Luckily for us, our opponent mulligans to 4. I feel sorry for them, but then I remember they play Chalice of the Void, so I really don't. So he just played a Glistener Elf, they play a Tomb, and they have the Chalice of the Void. So I'm like, okay, well, we could still lose, but my hand's not terrible. I have Bladder Agent, I have the Pendelhaven, and it doesn't look like they have a lot else going on. Very often it just happens that they just rely on Chalice of the Void to win the game. So again, always bring in the Force of Vigors. And very often it's not good enough. Like, I'm just going to slam in each turn. I have the Pendelhaven, put into 7, and they just concede. So they relied heavily on having the Chalice. It's possible that they just mulliganed until they had it, thinking they could win the game that easily, but that's, let me tell you, that's not a winning strategy. Alright, let's go to the next round. So playing as Eldrazi is of course not very exciting. Luckily, we didn't play against Eldrazi 5 games in a row, so we had a lot of interesting games as well. So this is a perfect opening hand. Look at this TAMIYO and Brainstorm Summon Library. If you can flip TAMIYO turn to, it's insane, especially in our deck, because we can actually use the -3 to gain back an instant and sorcery that's green from the graveyard. And you know what's nuts about this? That if we just have a single pump spell, right, that means we no longer need a second one, because we have the pump spell, we -3 to Mio, and we can immediately use it with the green mana that we got. So it's ridiculously powerful. Really, it's the more I play with it, the more I'm in love. Anyway, this is clearly a keep. Very good hand here. So let's see what happens. So I'm going to start. And I was debating here, should I start with Glistener Elf or Tamio? But I have too many threats to play Tamio first. You still want to try and win as soon as possible if you can, so it's better to just play it like this. So I just decide to just play the Elf. I can still play Tamio and Blind Agent later. Here I actually try to bait out them blocking with Mother of Runes since I have more threats, which is something that they do, so I'm happy with that exchange. I'm going to play the Noble here. I could play Blooded Agent, but preferably I really want to play Blooded Agent and or Tamio next turn. I could also, depending on what they do, play Tamio, flip it immediately, so I have options here. Now, they try to remove my land, which is fine, so I decide, okay, it looks like we're playing against some kind of Death and Taxes style deck, so I'm just going to flip it to Tamio and see what happens, because this is the 2/2, flying first strike. So if you flip Tamio soon enough against a deck like this, there's just not all that much that they can do. In a counter the White Orchid, I already have a threat, and this Tamio is just going to win me the game on its own, so I don't need anything else. So again, shows you the power level of the card. So I'm going to play this in the library, just pass, and this is what I mean. Like, I've seen people online saying that to me it's not for Infect, but it's ridiculous, dude. It wins the games on its own. So of course it's a card for Infect. Just going to take everything here. I want to win as soon as possible, and I just will find the stuff that I need with Tamio. Let's pop open the graveyard here so you can tag along. So I'm just going to play my threats, and the game is, or the idea here is to win next turn. They have a lot of small creatures too, so this Tamio is going to be excellent at keeping them down. So it doesn't look like this is Death and Taxes. It looks like this is some kind of white energy-esque kind of deck. So here I'm debating, should I block the token, but I really don't want to do that. It's fine, I'm just going to let Tamio take 1 damage and win the game next turn. And even if that fails, I still have the +1 from Tamio, stopping so much that my opponent's going to try to do. But I'd be surprised if we don't win here. However, we don't win here. Or it's not yet. I'm going to Brainstorm first, dig for pump spells, which we do find. I mean, we've seen like 10 cards at this point, so of course I was going to find it. And to me, it was very important here to actually ensure that I was going to be able to win the game. Because imagine if I had like drawn 3 and brainstormed and I wouldn't have found something, I would have just fetched, pick up the Brainstorm with Tamio again. And if I don't find pump spells in 12 cards, sure. I mean, that happens, but it's highly unlikely. All right, let's go to the next one. Oh yeah, sideboarding before we forget. Pretty straightforward. Swords. I haven't seen Aether Vial in this matchup, so you bring in swords and you take out Daze or Force, depending if you're on the draw or on the play. So this hand's pretty good. I'm going to keep a lot of threats here, Brainstorm and Biggins, etc. So everything that you want. And they start off with Deafening Silence. It's so funny to me how many people play Deafening Silence against Infect, because it's really not that good against us. It's really not. People play it all the time, and I almost never actually care about Deafening Silence. It's just like, okay, I don't need to combo off. I don't need to do that. If I play a pump spell twice, but just in different turns, I'm okay with that. Here I'm going to see if they have removal for the Tamio, which is something that I'm fine with. they actually do. So they've gotten rid of a lot of cards in their hand. And again, I'm perfectly fine with this exchange. And worst thing that TAMIYO does is eat removal spell, which is always something very good in Infect. Like it's overpowered spells guide. That's what it is for our deck. That can also win the game on its own. So I'll take that. So this is what I mean, right? I'm going to Invigorate now, and don't need to use Embiggen straight away. I can play creatures because Deafening Silence doesn't stop you from playing creatures. So, like, what has this Deafening Silence done for my opponent in this game? So I see Blooded Agent on top, not something that I want. Put it away, and yeah, it's just... Again, dude, this Hedge Maze is going to be extremely good at this entire league, and I love it. I'm not even going to bother playing the Embiggen here. What I want to do is I want to just play another agent, because if they had actually drawn a removal spell, I don't want to walk straight into this. I'm just going to play all of my threats and see what they do. So they have a creature here, which is something that they can't use, and I'm just going to win the game. Nice. Let's go to round 3. 37 hands fine. It's not great, but I do have Brainstorm, so I can shuffle away some bad cards, which is something that you want. I'm just going to keep. Play the land, pass. Let's see what we're up against. We have Saga, so that's interesting. Not sure what we're up against yet, but I'm just going to play my threat. Just going to chill. I don't want to brainstorm too soon. Keep your brainstorms for when you really need them. Ancient Tomb, that's scary, but still not a lot going on, so I'm not unhappy. We have the TAMIYO, so that's great. I'm going to play it, and I'm going to brainstorm immediately. That's what TAMIYO does. Great draws here. Couple of lands, but TAMIYO flips, so I have a lethal next turn, so I'm happy with that. I also have Force Wall Protection, so honestly, there's not a whole lot that can happen here. I'm feeling very, very safe. They played a Vexing Bauble, which shuts down Invigorate, but I don't really care. They also have the Glaring Fleshraker and the Monolith, so a lot of stuff here. We're playing against Eldrazi again, a deck that you can expect a lot these days, a deck that I think is going to be very good. Not very good against Infect specifically, because I think it's a bit slow, which is something that we don't really care about. But I mean, they're popping off here, so we will have our Force of Vigor, which is going to be excellent. Now look at this. They have Walking Ballista, which is normally game over against old decks, old Infect decks, but not anymore. Infect has honestly gotten so many upgrades recently that people don't realize that we're at the point where I'm not afraid of these things anymore. All right, so I'm going to pause here for a second because I'm going to do some sweet, sweet moves here. So what you want to do is you just want to animate your Nexus with itself, because then if you Legolas, you actually keep 1 extra mana, right? What I'm going to do here is I actually can't cast Invigorate for the Vexing Bauble, so this TAMIYO will win me the game immediately. Because what I can do is I can Embiggen on Inkmoth Nexus, minus the TAMIYO, get Embiggen back, and play it immediately. So this TAMIYO did win me the game, even though it may not seem like that way. That's actually what happened. So they're going to kill the TAMIYO in response. It doesn't matter, the game's already over. So we get a mana, and we slam in. Getting this mana is not unimportant, because you can also gain white from this, so that's really nice. And we win the game. Cool stuff, right? TAMIYO really, really good here. Right. So against Eldrazi, as I said before, now this is, I say Eldrazi, but it's more like Khan Eldrazi, Artifact Eldrazi, whatever you want to call it. So you really want to have Force of Vigors, Sylvan Library, excellent here, and you can bring in some number of swords, generic stuff. Okay, so this opening hand is okay, not excellent, but just okay. I decided to mulligan this because it was just, as I said, it was okay, but I'm not going to win with an okay hand against this deck, especially on the draw. So I figured I'm just going to mulligan. My mulligan is slightly better, but not terribly exciting. But it does have TAMIYO, it does have Elf, so I'm happy here because I'm able to play a lot of threats, and that's something that you do want against these decks. Drawing Forcible is nice. That means I will not play TAMIYO because I don't want to play TAMIYO and then just die with a Force in hand. I'm going to let this one resolve. Manifold Key is fine as well. Probably going to need to counter like 1 Khan or something like that, and then win the game. I already have 1 Invigorate, so I just want to play it chill. Keep in mind that I do have the Hedge Maze, which is something that I was thinking about when playing it a bit slow. I do decide to attack here and play another threat. Reasoning for this is that if I draw another Invigorate, that means I can now win out of nowhere because I've dealt 1 Infect and double Invigorate is +9. So I do want to keep this Force Will, and here they played the Paradox Engine. That's the card I'm afraid of, so I'm going to counter that. So we're going to win the game if the next card isn't terribly exciting. They have one card left, so let's see what it is. They play Kozilek's Command, which is fine. They're just going to get rid of Elf. They do see one card, but they put it on the bottom, so I'm happy with that. So we're going to draw. We have Force Will. Not terribly exciting, but okay, so be it. I'm going to slam in here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to slam in for 1. I decide to keep the Invigorate in case I draw the Berserk. They could have Thought Knot Seer, sure, but I mean, you have to decide. Do I want to rely on them having the Thought Knot Seer, or do I want to keep it for in case I have the Berserk? No, I don't think there's anything that's better or worse, but just so to give you my ideas here. Okay, they play a bunch of stuff. They're going to slam in. Not a lot going on here. Here I'm going to fetch up my Hedge Maze. Excellent card. Put the card that was on top, which is a land, on the bottom. And then we draw swords. Nice. Not bad. So this Hedge Maze is basically, I said that I cut Ponder, but it feels like I actually have 8 Ponders in the deck now with the fetch land. So I really love the Hedge Maze. Okay, so we're down to 4. So scary, very scary. So I'm going to Swords the Eldrazi here. So this is, if I didn't have the Hedge Maze, I would have lost because I would have drawn the land. So, you know, important to see that the cards that you put into the deck are worth it. And then we have the Invigorate. So here, in this matchup, it's clear that this Hedge Maze won us the game. And be aware that the fact that I had TAMIYO is a blue card, so it allowed me to pitch to the Force Will. So both TAMIYO and Hedge Maze, even though it may not seem like it, did end up playing a big role in me winning this round. Right, next one. Okay, so this opening hand is excellent. It has pretty much everything that you want. The decision here to make is, do I want to start with Noble or do I want to start with TAMIYO? But my opponent played Mox Diamond into Life from the Loam, so I'm like, okay, this is going to be lands, which means I want to win as soon as possible. So I'm definitely just going to play the Noble. If it was like a controlly deck, stuff like that, I would probably play the TAMIYO, but at this point, I feel like this is better. So they have Tabernacle. Tabernacle is not great or anything. It's okay. We have Nobles. We usually have a lot of stuff to do here. Now, they do have the Wastelands. That's unfortunate, but as soon as we draw one land, I think we're good. So I'm just going to pay for the Nobles, hope to draw land soon, and I'm going to try and set this up to win the game as efficiently as I can. The idea is I'm going to draw land at some point, and then I'm going to pay a Noble, but only one, and then I have 1 green mana floating, so I can play a threat, and next turn, with the land, play double Invigorate and kill them. That's the idea. Now, they do have Dark Depths, so that goes, that just kills my game plan, and I concede. Okay, next one. Sideboarding against lands, pretty easy. You play Sylvan Libraries and Force of Vigors. You can also play Surgical Extraction. And you take out Days on the draw and Force of Will on the play. That's pretty much it. So this hand's great because it has TAMIYO and Brainstorm. So that's a snap keep. If it flips, there's not much lands can do. I do decide to play with Glistener Elf first because I do want to have the threats. So exploration here, they swords away Elf, and I'm actually happy. So this may be very weird, but that just shows the power level of TAMIYO. I'm happy that they've gotten rid of Glistener Elf and not TAMIYO, because this is just going to win me the game on its own. So I'm just going to play my threats, just going to play the TAMIYO, pass. They have Thespian Sage, but I really don't care all that much. Brainstorm's not great, but okay, I can shuffle these things away. I also love the fact that I'm playing 19 lands with Hedge Maze, because I rarely get Mana Screw with this list specifically. So TAMIYO goes up to 8. I'm going to slam in with Glistener Elf. The only thing that I'm afraid of now is them making the Lage token at the end of the turn, and they concede. So I just win the game here by ultimating TAMIYO. So as I said, TAMIYO is a win condition. So this hand is excellent, but I'm sure you can figure out what's lacking here. So let's see what we had in our 6. This hand is okay because it has Sylvan Library. If not, it wouldn't be terribly exciting. I just decide to get rid of the protection spell. That's not what I'm looking for. I want to win as soon as possible, and if they have the Maze of Ith, okay, sure. But we will hopefully be able to find the stuff that we need with the Sylvan Library. They do have a lot going on. They have the Wasteland, they have the removal spells, but I'm still okay with this. I'm just going to play Noble, and if I can land Sylvan Library, I'm feeling okay. They do have another sword, so this hand is just nuts on their end. I play Hedge Maze. I leave the Invigorate on top. You could drop it, but the idea here for me, the reasoning for keeping the Invigorate is because I was afraid of them having Choke, It's nice that I'm able to use the Invigorate to pitch to the choke. I'm not going to bother getting rid of the Exploration because they have 0 cards in hand. So I set it up in such a way that I was able to now win the game. And the reasoning for this is that I actually pitch, in this situation, I pitched the Sylvan Library instead of the Invigorate because I knew that my opponent had 0 cards left in hand. So in the beginning, I wanted to pitch the Invigorate, but as the game progressed, I thought it would be better to just try and win the game as soon as possible, because I knew, of course, that I had 2 Invigorates on top, and that's what we did. So even though my opponent had a great start, we were able to take over the game, and especially game 2 was great because TAMIYO just wins it on its own. Nice, last round. For the last one, we have a very good hand. We have TAMIYO. I mean, it's clear by now that I love the card. It's just so powerful. And it's so good in a deck that people don't expect it to be good. I mean, every single pump spell that you have also is a removal spell now because it has flying. So you can also, against Delver, like, block the early turn creatures. And if we want to, we can just use Invigorate on TAMIYO to kill a creature. So it makes all the pump spells removal spells, which is... I mean, which is nice. I like that. We have gotten a lot of angles that we never had in Infect, especially with Legolas. It's pretty sweet. Okay, so we draw the Bladder Agent. And I just want to drop down this TAMIYO as soon as possible. My opponent's going to Swords, and I'm actually going to fight over this because I'm playing against a control deck, and TAMIYO is just, again, it's clear by now just how strong this is, right? If you can just draw 1 or 2 cards from this TAMIYO, it has already done its job. So after getting the clue token, the question is now, do you want to draw the card or do I want to play the Blighted Agent? But I just want to have more threats, so I'm going to play the Blighted Agent. Again, I'm kind of hoping that they get rid of Agent. If they do, that's fine. So it just shows you, again, the power level of this TAMIYO, because they've gotten rid of double threat. Normally, in a normal situation, lights out, right? But not with TAMIYO. So we draw Noble, that's nice, so I can draw more cards, pretty lovely. So I'm just going to play it and slam in with TAMIYO. There we go. They're now going to get rid of TAMIYO. So if they have triple swords, as a control deck, normally that's just game over when you're playing against Infect for the Infect player. But again, TAMIYO doesn't necessarily mean that's true. So we draw Inkmoth Nexus. Perfect draw here. That means I now have 2 cards that I can draw at the end of their turn and then win the game from there, hopefully. Best card for me to draw now is probably just Legolas. That would be really good. So I'm just going to chill because I want to draw the card. I'm not going to draw it now. I'm going to see what they do. They put the Swords on top with Mystic Sanctuary. That's unfortunate. But since they had an opening hand with triple swords, I'm like, okay, so how much could they have left? Whoops, sorry about that. Okay, so end of turn, we draw Mystic Rainforest. Not terribly exciting, but we do have Hedge Maze. So here at this point, I'm debating what I should do. Because again, how much cards could they have left? What are they still doing? Now, I have a lot of pump spells, so I can actually also start attacking with these nobles. What I'm going to do, I'm actually just going to play the Hedge Maze, see what's on top here, and then I'm going to now use a noble, and I figure, okay, let's see what's up here. Let's see what's up. Let's see what they do. Because the longer this game goes on, the worse it becomes for me, and they've already seen triple swords and a brainstorm, so I think it's time for me to go for it now. And I'm really hoping that they have counter magic, but they have Snapcaster too, and they have another sword. So that means that they have that's swords number 5. I still stand behind this choice. I probably would have done the same if I was playing another game. And if they have the complete nuts, like 5 swords in 5 turns, I think that's, I mean, yeah, sure, I have a lot of threats, and I had TAMIYO, but there's still... I needed to draw Legolas there to just win the game on the spot. But I think this is a situation where now the game is slipping out of my hands, but I'm not going to concede just yet. I did draw another land, so my draws are not terribly exciting, and that's saying it nicely. I'm just going to slam in with Noble, because you never know. I still have Embiggen, so if I get really lucky, maybe I can do something cute. Their turn, they play Misty, they slam in, okay. So for my turn, we draw Glistener Elf. I know that they have swords in hand, right? So I'm like, I think this game is lost, but I'm just gonna try. I'm just gonna do my best. So I'm gonna play the Glistener Elf. I'm just gonna slam in with Noble. I've won from very weird situations before, so I'm like, maybe if I get lucky, I can squeeze my way through. They play on an island, and now they're going to play Wrath of the Skies for X is 1. Yikes! That's probably. I think this is game over. I didn't want to concede too soon though, so let's just see what we draw. We find Brainstorm, which is really nice. So, okay, maybe we have a shot at this game. Let's Brainstorm. So, not bad. I wasn't unhappy here. I'm going to play the Blighted Agent, see if I can wiggle my way through this. They have Counterspell. That's unfortunate. I decided not to counter this. Because keep in mind, I still know that they have the swords in hand, right? So I figure that, you know what I'm going to need? I'm probably going to need Inkmoth Nexus when I can go for it. Because if I fight over this and they just swords, like... Okay, what does that bring me? I think I need, if I want to win this game, I need to set up in such a way that I actually find Legolas, and then we have a shot. Okay, so with my upkeep, I know that I have a pump spell on top. Not really what I'm looking for right now. I think I want to have threats. So I need to shuffle, unfortunately. And then I draw another land, so yikes. Let's quickly see at this point. I have all my fetch. No, that's not true. I still have one tropical island left in the deck that I can fetch up, but it's not looking great. Then we draw the Noble. Again, not what I'm looking for. And I think it's at this stage that I was like, I'm not sure how I'm ever going to come back from this game. I'm still going to try, but I feel like this is more me wanting to see what my opponent's playing. They're playing Jeskai probably, or it could also just be blue-white, but I just want to see what else is in my opponent's deck, because I'm usually no longer expecting Snapcaster Mage, for instance, so it's good for me to know that. Also important for me to realize that they have double Mystic Sanctuary. So don't concede too soon. If you can still get information out of playing the game, you should probably just do that. Okay, cool. So we do draw Glistener Elf. It's something. Who knows, maybe I can do something cute. Hardcast 4, so we'll pitch or use Daze and pick up my Hedge Maze. I really love Hedge Maze in Daze deck because you can actually pick it up from time to time. That's really nice. They play Tuning Narrative, then play Lanes. Let's see what they have left. Wrath. Okay, I'm just going to try. Let's hardcast this Forcible. They played a counter spell. I'm going to pick up the Hedge Maze, because what else am I going to do? This Daze is horrible. It's never going to do anything, so I might as well just pick it up. Now, our next draw is Forcible, so pretty bad. But I decided to play Hedge Maze, see Invigorate on top. Like at this point, what do I want? Probably Inkmoth Nexus. I could also see myself playing TAMIYO and Brainstorming. That's the way how I can still win the game. But Invigorate's not what I want, so I'm going to put that into the graveyard. My opponent leaves the card on top with the Meticulous Archive and slams in. And then we draw the Embiggen, another card I really don't want to have at this point. So we just pass their turn, they draw and slam in. We draw Inkmoth Nexus. That's good. That's something that I'm liking. Keep in mind, I still know about the swords in their hand, so it's not like I'm feeling like well positioned. It's just that maybe if I get super lucky, I have a shot at this game. So drawing Blighted Agent is fine. I could see myself trying to wait for when I have another pump spell, because like if I have Embiggen and Invigorate, that's 10. So I could try and go for it and then just see if they have Force or something like that. But I decided I'm just going to play Blighted Agent, because if they do have Force, well, I'd rather get it out of hand now. So I'm okay with this. Of course, they're going to slam me with Snapcaster. They Brainstorm, and for our turn we draw another land. So yikes. Really not what I'm hoping for. I'm just going to play it. I'm probably never going to do anything with it, because if they attack with Snapcaster, that means I can't fetch. Fortunately, I won't be able to actually use the Force of Will. Now, we've seen Brain Surge. That's information that's useful for me, because we haven't seen the Brain Surge. So, okay, we've gotten a bit more information out of this game. Let's see what we draw. I mean, I need to get super lucky to do anything this game. It's never going to happen, but you never know. So then we draw another land. Not what I want. Okay, so not terribly exciting. Sideboarding is relatively easy against control. You bring, especially Jeskai, you bring in Veda Summers, Sylvan Libraries, Flusterstorms, and Surgicals, and you take out some number of Dazes, Forces, and Berserks. That's it. So I really like playing against control. These are usually games that tend to go both ways, and I think these are games where the skill level is very relevant, and how you navigate your way through these matchups. So I really like playing against control, especially Jeskai. This hand's fine. I'm going to keep. It has a lot of stuff that I want. A couple of threats, Brainstorms, etc. So I'm just going to play Glistener Elf. If they get rid of the Glistener Elf turn 1, it's fine. I have more threats left, so I'm okay with this. So we drew another land here. Not terribly exciting, but it's fine, because I have Brainstorms to get rid of some stuff. We draw the TAMIYO. We saw how good it was last game, so I'm terribly excited about that. So So I'm just going to slam it for 1, and here I'm going to fetch. And at this point, I'm feeling like if I play TAMIYO here, and even if they get rid of the TAMIYO, I'm still happy because I have so much threats that the goal here for me was to just play threat after threat after threat each game, because I don't need TAMIYO, I still win with Infect, right, if I want to. I'm just going to play it and see what they do, because I'm not even sure if you are my opponents, my guess would be that they would probably swords the Glistener Elf. So I was aiming towards that. Like, imagine if you're playing control and use swords, TAMIYO, and then I just invigorate Berserk Glistener Elf. You can't do that, right? So I'm just going to slam in here with both. Legolas with reflex is nice. Another reason why I love this deck with TAMIYO, dude. TAMIYO and Legolas is just so insanely powerful, and this is why it's free for me, right? Because I'm gonna brainstorm, and I was kind of hoping that they would use a removal spell on the TAMIYO, because that would mean that I could actually just Legolas and then just also nullify a removal spell. It's ridiculous. Anyway, they do some stuff, but I have back to basics. Look at this. They have back to basics. And normally, again, back to basics and Infect, game over. You're done. Now, spoiler alert, you know this is a 5-0, so I'm going to win this game. But I'm just guessing, if you would be watching this game at home, how many of you would actually think that I could still win here? Now, I was not giving up by any means, and the reasoning for this is that I had TAMIYO. It's very easy. Now, I'm going to draw a lot of cards soon, and this may be get a bit messy on screen. Sorry about that. But the summary is, I'm just going to draw half of my deck, and I think I'm going to win if I set things up correctly. It doesn't even matter how many cards my opponent has, like Negana and Terminus Glistener Elf here, sure, whatever, dude. I'm just going to chill, and the idea here is that I'm laughing a bit with this, but honestly, it's not that easy, because keep in mind that I don't have that many lands left in my deck, so I'm going to have to play it safe. Of course, I'm going to draw my entire deck, but I need to set up the turn in such a way that I'm able to win in one swing and just always win. So that's what we're going to do here. So this is an interesting situation still. So I'm just going to go through the cards while you can watch the screen. So I have a lot of stuff here. Let's watch the pump spells, right? So we have 1, 2 Invigorate. We also have Embiggen. And then we have Forces and we have Surgicals, okay? So at this point, what I'm doing is I'm actually thinking what I need to do is, because there are lands in here, I need to just chill, do nothing for a while, and need to set up a game situation where I have the possibility to have all my remaining jewels. So I have a Savannah in hand, as you can see, and I have 2 fetches left in hand that I can get Tropical Islands with. Hedge Maze doesn't work because that enters tapped. So what am I going to do? I'm going to just wait, do nothing for a while, and then I'm going to, as soon as I have the possibility of having 3 lands, I have double Tropical and the Savannah, and that means I just always win. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tap Inkmoth Nexus with itself, then I'm going to get Legolas's Quick Reflexes, and on top of this, I now have 3 at this situation, or even 4 by now, pump spells that I can use. I also have Flusterstorm, and I also have Force Will, and I have Surgical. At this point, there's no way how I can lose, right? So be patient. That's what you need to do. Be patient and set up the turn. And if you have infinite cards in hand, the turn is whenever you decide to do so. Man, this replay is really slow. Sorry if there's a lot of... I'm going to have to cut a lot in this. Anyway, we're going to do it as I said, as the way I set it up. I also have drawn another Invigorate, so honestly, I could not see how I could lose this game. Because the only thing how that could happen is if they have like 2 removal spells. But I have Legolas, so removal spells don't work, and I also have Surgical for the Forces. So I couldn't see this going wrong in any capacity, really. Okay, so I'm just going to wait until they attack. Say okay. Keep in mind, I didn't attack last turn because I also realized that I had Inkmoth Nexus, and I just want to have as much mana as I could possibly have. So Tropical. End of turn, I'm going to Surgical, see what they have in hand. So I know that I have to play around, right? There's a Force, and there's a Swords in there. That's mainly the cards that I care about. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to, as I said, Legolas. So gone are the removal spells. Only have to worry about the counter spells. Don't care about the counter spell that we saw. I know about 1 Force in hand. And now they have the Brainstorm. I'm going to let that one resolve. Don't really care. And there we have a Force Wall that I knew about. So again, I'm going to Embiggen, and this is lethal. So I didn't even need to use Forces, didn't even use the Days, plus the Storms. I was not losing this game because I set it up really well. All right, last one. Pretty good opening hand here. A lot of stuff that you want. Pretty much everything that I need. Threats. I have force if anything goes wrong, and I have a pump spell. So nice. Against control, you really usually one pump spell is good enough. And this is like what I see a lot of newer Infect players do is they keep their pump spells too long. Against control, just fire off your pump spell as soon as possible because you wanna. If you use one pump spell and you gain for one like 6 infect, you've probably already won the game because then you can just attack each turn with a threat. And going wide is very good against control. Now be careful with Wrath of the Skies, but you have Inkmoth Nexus, right? So you can decide when you want to go for it. Okay, so they fetch for a plains, and they get rid of Glistener Elf. That is okay. Only thing I'm really afraid of at this state is back to basics. So they play back to basics, I force, they force back. That's scary because I don't have TAMIYO, you know, to win me the game through that. So I'm going to play it a bit safe. Okay, so we draw Hedge Maze. Like, it's fine, whatever. I'm just going to play Noble, see what they do. They Brainstorm, probably digging for back to basics. They Swords Noble, so that, again, that to me screams back to basics, because especially if I have Inkmoth Nexus and Swords is the only removal spell that they have in their deck that actually hits the Nexus. So Swordsing Noble means that they have either back to basics or just, I don't know, 2 or 3 more swords, maybe they have Snapcaster. In any case, it's clear that I was very, I thought this play was interesting. Okay, that's true, Invigorate, so we have lethal, that's really nice. A lot of people forget that Embiggen plus Invigorate is lethal. So we have a land on top. That's good, because I figured that if they do play back to basics now, and I have the fetch land on top, I'm going to let it resolve, and then just kill them, and have force backup. Now, they don't play back to basics, unfortunately, at this point. Kind of wanted them to. Okay, so we brainstorm, see what we get. Surgical is perfect, because what I can do now is, so I have skimmed through this very quickly, but this Surgical made it so that if you look at my hand, I'm going to talk you through this in detail a bit more. Let's put all this here, because that was a very, very interesting situation, right? So the Brainstorm was a Surgical in there, and then I had a lot of possibilities to put things back. If you look at my hand, the way I set this up is I can now exactly play the Surgical. I also have lethal, and I have force of will to win the game immediately. So of course, what I want to do is I want a Surgical, see what they have in their hand, and since they already have the swords in there, I know that if I get Surgical and I have swords gone, that means I cannot get my Inkmoth Nexus removed, and that means they need double force of will in order for me to not win the game. So I set this up brilliantly, and if you also see the hand, they have back to basics in here, so it's clear that I was playing around with the correct stuff. So it's cool that when you look at the game state and you want to see the optimal lines, that if you can see the opponent's hands, you realize that you made the correct plays. Okay, so I see Brain Surge, back to basic Stern Scolding. So what's going to happen here? Always you need to think about that, what my opponent going to do. So clearly they can't counter anything. So what's going to happen is I'm going to Embiggen and Invigorate. They in response Brain Surge. Now, what they can do is, possibly, they can find double force will, and that could be a way how if I let Brain Surge resolve, lose the game. So what we need to do is, we simply need to counter the Brain Surge, and then we win. Okay, so we animate Nexus, we Invigorate, we Embiggen. They play the Brain Surge, can't let that resolve, and then we just win. Nice. And that was our 5-0 out of the 10-0. So I'm hoping that you get to see how powerful this deck was. It really, TAMIYO has been insane, and so has Hedge Maze. We've seen it a lot of times in play, and TAMIYO, I even won twice because of TAMIYO Ultimate. So it's not like it's not possible. Like turn 2, flipping this. I very often had situations where I then just use my pump spells and protection spells. So yeah, I'm excited, and I think Infect is back. I don't think people realize yet that it's very good, but I will be playing it heavily again in challenges as well. So okay. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, respond to this video, and don't forget to smash that subscribe button if you enjoyed this content. Alright, see you soon, bye!